All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ashley Kasmar. I'm the brand marketing strategist here at KERV Interactive. I'm very excited to have you with us today. We're going to be discussing interactive and shoppable videos, and with the holidays right around the corner, how you can use those to boost your campaigns. So before we get started, I'm going to cover a couple of quick points, give people a bit more time to get in and get settled. So first of all, just so you're aware, the webinar will take about 35 to 40 minutes because we want to leave time at the end for a Q&A section. I do want to point out that you have a button at the bottom of your Zoom window where you can submit questions. You'll see it says Q&A. You can do this at any time throughout the webinar. Just as you think of them, go ahead and put them in there. And when we get to the Q&A section, we'll go through and we'll answer all those questions. At the end of the webinar, you will also receive a follow-up email. It'll have a recording of this presentation and a PDF version of the slides for your reference. If at that point you have a question that you didn't get around to asking during the webinar, feel free to reply to that email. We'll be happy to get back to you and answer any of those questions you have. So with all of that said, I am going to pass this over to our speakers. We have Marika, our Chief Operations Officer, and Bill Roberson, our Vice President of Media Creative Strategy. They've got a great discussion lined up for you today. So Marika and Bill, take it away.
Thank you, Ashley. Hi, everyone. I'm Marika Roque. I think I know many of you. I saw a few signups, but with the creative perspective today, I do look over all of operations at KERV, but just wanted to state that I do have some agency and client direct experience. So I'm very well aware of how difficult it is to work through some of those creative approvals in this very busy and hectic time of the year. So I'll be using that perspective a lot today. And Bill, just passing it over to you to say hello, but just know that Bill's also managing the full team that manages those creative approvals of everything we'll be showing you today as well.
Thanks, Marika. Hi. Yeah, I get to do the fun stuff. Thank you.
And without further ado, we're going to set the stage a little bit. I've seen a lot of our consistent clients and partners on the sign up for today, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on some slides that I know you've all seen. But we are going to be talking about creative ad agility and utility, utilizing our technology, of course, but through the lens of video specifically. So you've all seen data sliced from all sorts of different sources. This source is the IAB. Video is on the rise. There's going to be more video in the market this holiday season than any other holiday season. And there's going to be more e-commerce this holiday season than any other holiday season. So we all know that. I know we've been reading a lot about it. And KERV wants to, of course, be the convergence of those things. From this particular perspective, though, something else that we've read a lot about is that there are going to be some supply chain concerns out there this holiday season. So lots of folks who want to spend money, but also potentially a lot of shifts in product availability and other things that could make creative wear out easier, destination links needing to be updated more often. So, the ability to change communication strategies on the fly is going to be needed. And that's not always possible at the parent or base creative level of your pre-roll. Pre-roll's expensive. It takes a lot of time to get those client approvals that I mentioned. So we're going to kind of talk through some ideas that where KERV can be a solve for all of that, as we all are very well aware of stats like this out there in the market these days. So without further ado, of course, you guys know KERV. We hope to bridge those two ideas of the increase of video and the convergence of content and commerce, utilizing your existing video assets that you're working on producing if you haven't already done that for this holiday season. So you know, I know you're working really hard on that, and we want to talk about how to lift those things up, go beyond the 30 without adding too much more work to you or your client, get quick approvals, and actually solve for a lot of the utility concerns that are on the docket this holiday season. So again, we know that most of you know KERV. So I'm just going to be giving you guys a little bit of context in this section for the creative conversation we're going to be having. So we're going to, you know, again, focus on our video products specifically, and really kind of talk about the optimization opportunities that KERV is going to provide within the creative. So not just media optimization, but creative optimization. And, you know, I would love any clients to chime in on this, because many of the clients I saw on the line have actually experienced the optimizations that we're going to be talking through today, and really just brainstorming, hoping to get your creative juices flowing as we approach the holiday season. So we're going to drill into Max, Shop, and KERV TV today, and talk through some really cool creative executions that we've done with clients and or brand new ideas we've had in the space. So starting with KERV Max, you all know that KERV Max allows you to unlock an entirely new dimension within an existing holiday creative. So to me personally, I find KERV Max to be the least intrusive of all of the KERV products. I know some clients actually look at it as the most, just depending on your perspective. KERV Max allows you to pause the creative, to drill in further. It's super informational, allows your consumers to spend more time. This particular creative, which is a David Yurman creative, actually features 50 products. And I'm going to actually hop into some demos where we're going to talk through this slide is actually a little different than the slide you've all seen before. Again, we're talking about the creative lens, but I'm going to show you guys some demos of actually optimizing the scene carousel, the product details, calls to action, and all of the above. So
yeah, I wanted to let me mirror something real quick that you said, Marika.
Sure.
You said you know, some may feel that it's the most intrusive, or we feel it's the least intrusive.
Yeah,
it's the least intrusive if you don't do anything as a viewer. So that's by design. So we've made it so immersive. Like if you do decide to lean in, you really do get the most layers of interactivity once you do lean in. But if you decide to stay back, it really is close to a standard pre-roll as we can get it. If you decide to not engage. So low intrusivity on, you know, the non-engaging, but once you decide to lean in, it opens up a new world. So just wanted to make that point.
That's great. And with that, I'm going to actually just hop into demos, and we're going to brainstorm a little bit, show you guys a few ideas we had with KERV Max. And Bill will be taking the majority of the reins in this section, but with David Yurman at a high level, this particular video has 50 unique products. So talk about commerce and content in the holiday season, 50 unique interactive elements throughout this creative. And the one thing I'll call out before handing it over to Bill to really brainstorm with you all is that with KERV's technology, of course, we can have the product specific destination information, anything and everything, and every single one of these will link out uniquely for purchase. But also, if there's a product that sells out, we can also get a product feed to make sure that that's always up to date, or we can optimize it to a categorical link out. So you're still getting folks deeper than just a homepage or taking them to women's rings, but you might not be able to get them directed to the product if you don't have a feed, if you have any concern of the supply chain concerns we mentioned at the beginning of the call. So Bill, I'll hand it to you to drill in, and I'll Vanna White.
Yeah, so yeah, just elaborating on that. I mean, the flexibility that Max has in regards to the messages that we're that we're telling or the stories that we're telling. We can keep it super product focused, or we can actually elaborate more into, a brand story. Maybe there's a story about an influencer who's actually repping this brand. We can link out to their social media to where they're driving awareness for the brand as well. So this really, we look at this as kind of like an interactive sitemap. So if you look at your video from a creative perspective and say, where would I like to send the user? If I could send them anywhere on my site using this video creative, where would I send them? With KERV Max, you have the ability to send them all of those places if they decide to kind of go down the rabbit hole, so to speak. So this really allows us to get super flexible, and like messaging, if that message changes, especially during the holidays, you're going to have a lot of updated messaging that comes and goes. Maybe like Marika said, a product may sell out, so we want to maybe step up the link association to more categorical links as opposed to specific products. We have the flexibility to do that and change that messaging on the fly without having to change the creative itself. Maybe there's low availability across the board, or maybe a store is cutting off, shipping, a shipping date for get it by the holidays. So and now it's switching the messaging to, buy online, pick up in store type messaging. We can do that as well using that same creative and doing that on the fly. So users get the most up-to-date information about the product availability as they can. So that's one of the great things about this, and really one of the fun things about being on the creative side is we get to really pick and choose what kind of story we want to tell, whether it's super product focused, or maybe we run an A/B test against super product focused, and then maybe a brand story focus about the ad itself. So those are some great things about Max. Go ahead, Marika.
Yeah, so a couple of points, and then we'll go into the next kind of ideation and brainstorm. To Bill's point, if you wanted to make any influencer interactive and link to something that they're supporting, if any purchase goes into some sort of initiative. One thing you'll also notice is that these links are going to the retailer directly, but this is the product directly. You'll notice that this brand logo here, we could actually version this out and have a version for Nordstrom, have a version for Neiman's. That's something else that could be really helpful during the holiday season. On top of what Bill's mentioning with dynamic CTAs that count down the days until cutting off the delivery window, or giving that sort of information. So really a product and influencer centric example here that really shows the additional lift on top of a 30 that our tech can do. This of course was not produced for this type of technology. We could just add this. So on top of that, driving to the next kind of high level initiative, wanted to call out a little bit more of a refresh type of idea here. Within this creative, Walmart did a really good job of using our tech to humanize what's going on and actually provide information about the staff and their COVID protocols. So this is a little bit of a different idea for optimizing your holiday creative and keeping it updated with potentially CDC messaging protocols, that sort of thing. So very much a utility idea here. And Bill, I'll pass it to you for more kind of information. Bill, did you go on mute?
I did. Sorry about that. So this was really nice. And with this particular initiative, calling out like what Marika said, the CDC guidelines, those are always changing. So knowing, what to expect if you're going to walk in a store, having that information ahead of time is really great. Learning what the curbside pickup protocols are, processes, we can actually express all of that through the creative here. We can also dig a little bit deeper into the story about what Walmart's doing from a social consciousness perspective, and what they're doing in store to make people feel safe. It's as everyone's kind of getting back into the flow of getting out and about, this is becoming more and more important to make sure that the patrons are kind of know what to expect when they're walking in. So this one here, I believe, this one had, staff call outs talking about, some of the employee initiatives, what makes Walmart such a great place to work as well. So if you're thinking about getting a job at Walmart, you can use this video for that messaging as well. It really allows you to do multiple messaging within the same creative and even the same execution as well. So if someone hovers over a product, they get product info. If they hover over an employee, they might find out what it's like to work at Walmart. So
at a high level, again, it's keeping the creative refreshed with a whole nother dimension, and or thinking about these sort of COVID communication points that might be changing over time, and having that agility so the base creative can remain the same and all of those updates can be updated with this sort of technology. So just something to keep in mind, where every single one of these places, these sorts of things could go to a unique destination, so that you are educating and making your retailer the safest retailer and or the most communicative to your consumers. So just kind of the high level there, kind of coming back to the holiday season, keeping your creative fresh, going into more of the technology vein. This reminds me of more of the BOPIS call to actions and the same idea there, which we'll head back into the deck here in a bit. But with this one, I really loved there's a scene where you can really get lost in communicating attributes. So something to keep in mind if you want to increase engagement and time spent in the holiday season with this sort of technology is, instead of just quick purchase, when it's a single product that's a little higher value, you can actually add more information. And you'll see here, these are all order now. If we wanted to do buy online, pick up in store, this is a level of agility that I'd call out, as well as these sort of images. All of these things could be fed through product feeds or be updated on the fly, as we've done with many of our customers. Here you'll see that there's actually a call out for the camera and the 13 separately. And again, we'll talk a little bit about how we suggest kind of using that data in these examples here in a bit. But Bill, anything you'd add to the Verizon example?
yeah, in this particular example, we only called out the camera, but we are also able to call out the material that the phone's made of. So we could actually curve the back here. We can curve the aluminum edge and call out the structural integrity of the phone. If you're looking at an actual image of the screen, we can call out the retina display as well. So anything that's visible within the phone as a component, we could actually call out individually if we wanted. So it gives you kind of like that interactive sitemap that I was telling you about. If you wanted to go find out about the screen but didn't want to have to go navigate the home page to do that, we can do that. And then of course all of the data that that we're capturing about what's being engaged with is available as well. So.
Well, and to Bill's point, we can actually watch what people are interacting with. And there's a campaign we have live now where we were analyzing the categories of the information we were sharing. So again, thinking about the way you can optimize a creative. One of the categories was features and functions. And one of the categories was the sustainability aspect that we know a lot of our younger population is really concerned with. And the sustainability category was the highest performing category for a group of users. So again, we can also optimize the messaging based on that sort of data and personalize it for different groups of users. So again, a different way to have creative agility, avoid creative wear out in a holiday season where I know it is difficult to get multiple creatives approved by the client. Last but not least, in KERV Max, and again, these are just brainstorming sessions or brainstorming ideas, hoping to really get your creative kind of ideas flowing, is also the thought of optimizing the scene. So I don't know about you guys, but I end up buying philosophy as gifts a lot every holiday season, and knowing they have a ton of different flavors and different products, different sets and kits. You'll actually see in the KERV Max carousel over here, those products actually flip through really, really quickly. and we add every single one of them into the carousel. And in the case that one of them went out of stock, which is that supply chain issue again, we could actually add in custom frames in flight so that you could hop in and utilize this to make sure that it's calling out products that are truly in store, calling out kits, which I know is a big thing for many holiday season brands. So just kind of a utility call out here with this, the optimization of the scene specifically, which I'm sure Bill will get into a little bit further.
Yeah, this is really where the kind of the fun starts. We have the ability to really make kind of guide the users through the interactive process here. So depending on what your initiatives are, if you have specific product line that you're really wanting to push for the holiday season, that product line doesn't even have to be in this video for us to make it accessible for the user to engage with. As Marika said, if we wanted to put a custom frame or a custom thumbnail into that carousel, we can do that by creating some kind of like maybe a product catalog or a scene that has multiple product lines in it that the user can engage with. This is all about the purity line. But if we wanted to make it more about, maybe 3 different lines that were showcased, we could do that within a custom frame that when the user engages with it in the carousel, it pulls it out into the main view and allows them to kind of browse through the different product lines that you want to make the focal point. So we have that ability, even though it's not in the video, we can actually force that over to the left-hand side carousel and make it available if the user wishes to engage with it. It's just really kind of there if they want to do it. We can also make that thumbnail custom where it has a call to action in it. We can actually use the actual scene as the thumbnail. We found that, putting a call to action in there, or maybe something that says, it has some text on it that really guides the users, creates some intent. So the user, when they do click on it, they know what they're getting into. So that's always fun. Custom frames can also be used to showcase the components of something. So like the iPhone video earlier, where it was very, if it's a very fast video showing the iPhone and there's not a lot of product images or component images, we could actually have an exploded view of the iPhone on a custom stop frame that the user could engage with, and then kind of dive into all of the different bells and whistles that the iPhone has to offer. So those are just some custom iterations that we could do with this creative, and the Max product gives us that flexibility to do that.
Thanks, Bill. So when thinking about the creative agility and utility of a tech like this, and thinking about your creative obstacles for the holiday season, remember with this particular product that you can optimize and refresh the scene level. Again, even inject scenes that don't even exist in the video, if that would make and refresh and add value to your consumer. You can break apart attributes and allow interactivity while collecting the data with that particular iteration. You could communicate the corporate level goals that could be agile and ever changing. And then of course, the product availability and making sure that everything's always up to date with the supply chain issues are really the high level of the ideas that we wanted you to be thinking about with our Max product as kind of the stage of that particular ideation session. When thinking about Shop, you all know that Shop is fully automated. It cuts out the step of the frame, so you don't have the ability to optimize that frame like we were just talking about in Max, although we do have a kind of a cool idea that we came up with in partnership with one of our larger clients later in the deck. But this gets you straight to featured products or attributes where this can be fully automated, or it could be something that your creative team has fun with that's a little easier to optimize than the base creative itself. So again, keep in mind the CTA button for optimization purposes, the product details. Again, we're going to get in and have some fun with demos, the carousel itself, and the ability to pop in some reminders to engage with the consumer and put in some custom thumbnails. So without further ado, going to take you through a few demos of this. And again, how to keep your creative fresh and maximize that video that you're spending and investing so much time and money in this holiday season. So this one, it's very clear what's happening. Every product that's in every scene here is now fully shoppable. with these product tiles. So you can go quickly, and this is actually a great example. If we have a product feed, you'll never have this situation, or you could actually have similar items on the page, which is also a great solve on page that might be easier than a product feed. Either way, the thumbnail, title, description, call to action are all API based if they need to be, or fully customizable if there's not a functionality for that. And every single one of them can have a unique destination or be optimized to the category. So an example, I'll just click on this one as well. You'll notice this one is in stock, but you'll notice that Macy's actually does have these similar products too, and never taking consumers to a home page where you might lose them, knowing that when based on the video that you put so much time into, they want what she has on. They want these types of products or products that are similar to. So kind of a different version of the same idea of Your Men, where you're just helping your consumers shop these things in this digital commerce Q4 season and easily optimize all of these things, which we'll show you in a slide later. But Bill, anything you'd add to this one?
Yeah, and one of the creative optimizations that we've seen in the past is, because we can change these images on the fly, we could use animated GIFs for these images. We can use product only shots. We can use more lifestyle product shots. So products on a model, and then A/B test the performance based on which version we actually distributed, and then heavy up on the ones that are performing the best. So this gives us a lot of flexibility, again, with the same creative unit, but creating multiple versions that we can test independently one another, and then using the data to help drive additional engagement or in more traffic towards the ones that are performing the best.
One additional idea, since we know we want to give the consumers time to interact, would be to create a version for apparel and then a version for accessories. Just another idea since we're brainstorming together today. So she also has these really cool sunglasses on. I want to make sure to not lose that opportunity. And that's another way to think about rotation is by category, since we can easily do that. So just another thought there.
Well, and we'll get into this in a little bit, where some of the really interesting slides start to come up, but being able to engage a different version for accessories on, to user base that interacted with the accessories specifically. So being able to retarget to those users based on what they interacted with is pretty huge.
Exactly. So we'll hop back in the deck in a couple minutes, but a couple of additional utility uses. So we were just showing you the product specific. This is something that a lot of our CPG customers do, is they actually put retail tiles here. So this is one product and utilizing retail tiles to make sure to get users to that particular retailer of choice. Once we get that click, we now know they prefer to shop at Petco or they prefer to shop at Amazon. So we can create a version for them after they've done so that's retail specific. So just another idea and a way to sequential retarget them. And this is an example of the sequential version. This version is a buy at Target specifically, and I'll actually pass it to Bill because I know that he had a lot of creative fun with this one. And it is not just about the one product, but about attributes and that sort of thing with Shop. So Bill, I'll leave it to you for the retail.
So Shop is great, because we have the ability to either use contextual cues, audio cues, or visual cues in how we pop these tiles. In this scene, he's talking about, he wants to, she's saying, everything's great. So we utilized, up here in the tile, we actually use some of that messaging where it says, what else is great? This particular product from Dunkin'. She's also being very cold to the person. So she's kind of, so we related that back to cold brew. So these creatives allow us to kind of help amplify that creative messaging that you already have and make it fun and engaging for the user. And we can do that with Max as well. This one, both Shop and Max have that ability. So that's one of the fun things that we get to do, is kind of, figure out new and inventive ways. At the start, when we do this, a lot of times we'll just use that, that copy that's already approved from the website. But in some cases, when there's a really unique creative message, you can't always get that from copy that's on the website. So that's where you get to kind of, expand that voice of, everything you wanted to put into the video. Maybe there's more that you'd like to say, and you can do that with these products.
So kind of coming out a little bit, this is just an example of how to utilize technology like this to keep a creative fresh. To Bill's point, he had a lot of fun with this, and it was playing around with messaging, even though it's the same base creative. Whereas something like this is right off the shelf, and you can optimize based on availability, kind of talking about the supply chain. Does Petco have this particular product? Do you want us to direct them to a different product at Petco? So kind of a utility play here. Of course, we can version all of this out. And then thinking about the product specifically for our retail clients, which is really big for the season, of course, and making sure to always maximize every click. So just kind of coming back up to macro on this, hopefully it's really clear how you could optimize all of this so easily. And in a second, we're going to sum that up for you. But one last quick product is our KERV TV product, which also allows for all dynamic optimization inside of the creative through our Radius platform. So again, you all know that our technology is based on our Radius platform, and those same scene level optimizations that Bill was talking about for KERV Max can also be utilized within our KERV TV product, because you utilize that scene as the in frame. So within the holiday season, there's a couple slides in a little bit where we talk about this, but we could have some fun with that in frame and create dynamics in either the destinations based on different promos or different holiday gift guides, and actually dynamically change the in frame itself and the destinations depending on the client's approval and capabilities. So I have a couple of examples queued up for you, but these should go quick, and we'll hop back in I want to give some time for questions. But in this KERV TV creative, you'll actually notice that it's a little longer. But you'll notice that the QR actually changes in playback. So this is what is able to be optimized dynamically. So if you're sending to categories that need to be optimized because of the supply chain, or if there's a message that you want to quickly refresh, this is our template. So of course we can always change that up a tad, but you'll see the dynamics functioning there. And in this example, this is actually the example on the slide where the in frame, the QR and playback stays the same, but the in frame actually has 2 destinations for each of the featured vehicles. We could actually optimize the look and feel of the in frame dynamically, and or the destinations to call out promotions during the holiday season. Let's say that you have something different for the Thanksgiving time frame versus the holiday time frame. This here can be fully and dynamically customized. So kind of coming back in, and I won't be hopping around anymore. The rest of the presentation will be here in the deck. So just coming into the creative amplification and agility section as we kind of round out this webinar, which hopefully you all are feeling super invigorated and excited in ways to keep your creative fresh in this season. This is a slide that really talks to some of the ideas that Bill and I have spoken about inside of the Shop and Max unit specifically. So Bill, you want to kind of go ahead and get into the creative side of all of these options when thinking about how to keep things fresh and dynamic?
Yeah, absolutely. And we did touch on a lot of these earlier, but this is where we have the ability, and we talked about, being able to change that message, have it dependent on, we can have it dependent on pretty much anything that we can track. Maybe there's a deadline. If you want to be able to ship it and get it by the holidays, we can message that here. We can actually send out reminders for people that have engaged with the product that didn't buy. We can actually send out new messaging and make it more, urging them to go ahead and buy that sweater that they engaged with before but didn't buy. We have that data, so we can always reach back out with another ad and ask that question. We can point out specific maybe new items that have come up in the same product line. We can do that. We can talk about deals and offers that are coming in and out of rotation with the brand. So this really gives us that flexibility without having to, we don't even have to stop the creative from being delivered. We can shift all of this messaging on the fly and have it update in real time as well. We could actually make update optimizations in real time as well. Obviously we, would want to get those approved, but we do also have that flexibility. So yeah, all great stuff. I mean, super flexible. It's just being able to utilize that same creative without having to change it. It's pretty powerful.
Some of the more technical product feed ideas are like product counts. So inside of all of your creatives, you could actually share with the consumer what's available, whether it be like low stock buy now type of thing, or it's available, just make sure to make the purchase. If that seems overwhelming, there's always the like countdown in the PCTA of this is how much longer you have for delivery. Or just easy and quick optimizations by audience and that sort of thing. So just ideas for your creative strategies. Sometimes we find that creative isn't optimized as much as I know everyone wants it to be. But I think Bill already spoke to, and we've spoken at a ton about the sellout and optimizing those things. Deals by dates. This can all dynamically change, or you can create versions if that's something else that you don't know if the client can support on the technology side. So easily put together versions for different groups. It's up to you guys. It's just an idea around how to really take your creative further. And then one additional idea is the idea of a dynamic shoppable in-frame for our OLV based products. And again, just, keep this in mind. So adding for the OLV side of things, adding time to some of the 6-second creatives you might have in the market and social and even programmatically. Sometimes those don't lend themselves as well to interactive and shoppable. And we're talking all about how to bridge content and commerce. So adding an in-frame very similarly to what we do inside of Max or at the tail end of KERV TV with the products that the user had interacted with throughout the creative, or your just top product ideas. One additional thing we were talking about with a client was a wish list, and all of this is fully interactive and dynamic. So as products sell out, we can pull them off. As new products come in, we can add them in. And all this is just fully kind of living and breathing inside of your creative strategy. So just an earned time spent element, and taking these base creatives to that next level, or allowing them to be fully optimized as you actually have more data and information in such a digital Q4. So this is the same idea for KERV TV, which I know we kind of spoke to with the Lexus example as well. The big kind of difference here is the call out of you can use a technology like ours to fully automate this, or use a technology like ours to customize things. So I say that because of course we can automate, or we can allow customization that's built inside of the tool and still turn these ideas and these iterations within a business day or two max, depending on what we're doing for you guys. So kind of blending these two ideas together here, and I'll pass it to Bill in a quick second, but there's a couple different views of this. Is it going to be fully automated with product feeds or consumer review technologies, which is all great ideas for refreshing your creatives, taking advantage of technology to get around the supply chain concerns that are going to come up in Q4. But also our tech is quick. I've actually been on the phone with people, made a quick change myself, let alone our team. I mean, we can change things in real time. So you have the two sides of it, fully automated or have fun with it, like you saw with Dunkin' Donuts. So Bill, I'll pass that off to you so you can kind of talk to any of the fun creative iterations, but there's those two sides of it. Just so everyone is fully aware, the customization or using tech to really, allow optimization of your creative in a dynamic and agile holiday season when sometimes creative just isn't as agile.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said it all. That's yeah, I mean, no, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, having that flexibility to be able to tell, send whatever message you want at whatever time you want, utilizing the same creative. I mean, that's really the epitome of what this product has to offer. And Marika said, we have the ability to go through, using a product feed, or we can get super custom with it. We can, things that maybe aren't going to be reflected on your website, we may want to just kind of mirror that voice that you have on a creative basis, so trying to mirror that, the humor or the sentiment within a video, and use that text in the rollover copy that we use within the text boxes that pop up to kind of mirror that message or amplify that message is something that we can do quite easily.
Dynamic gift guides are a good idea as well. So you have one base creative and you have gift guides that you provide using tech like this that are targeted to different groups of users. So let's say you have a little bit of an older target and a little bit of a younger target, but you only have one creative. Or even if you have two, make sure that you have a fully shoppable gift guide that can be optimized as products come in and out of stock. That's kind of one of the more custom ideas that came that's still really turnkey and can be provided to you in 2 business days. Knowing we got to be quick. So that's kind of a cool one. And that's actually a good segue. This is what Bill was mentioning earlier in the call, but it's a good segue, and we only have a couple more slides, so right on time. But this is kind of the coup de grace, is not just thinking about your creative as having that agility and utility that it should, but also thinking that a lot of that should be coming from information that about the consumers and the way that they're experiencing your creative that you invested so much into. So with a lot of the ideas we put forward with you today, we would actually advise you do that sort of thing, utilizing the data that you learned from the actions they previously took. So if I was spending a lot of time with that tie-dye set because I think it's really cute. So you now have that information about me. You can now retarget me with a creative that's all about tie-dye. So again, as automated as we can do it, or just putting a custom version of the creative together, there's so many different ways and versions of creative for the holidays that can be done if you think about it this way. This cookieless sequential utility. I mean, Sephora is a large client, and this particular creative had fragrances, it had beauty, it had all sorts of things in it. So the versions that we had set up for the sequential were versions that were in those categories, even though the creatives on the base were not categorical specific. So much you can do on the optimization side if you actually start to look at the consumer behavior. We were talking about this earlier with the call out to environmental call outs, or call outs from influencers. There's so much we can do as we notice the categories that the users are leaning into. So Bill, any last notes to add before we just quickly kind of tell people how quickly we can work and then start to address any questions?
No, nothing, but I mean, I know this is about video, but we can make this go all the way through every single product line, optimizing and retargeting all the way down the line, all the way down to a banner with a single product specific hitting a particular, audience to take it as far down the funnel as you want. But no, that's really it. I mean, you hit the nail on the head.
Perfect. Trying to keep it simple because again, just really nice segue to the last slide we have is that worst case scenario, we have seen this take 10 days start to finish to get the clients. This includes client approvals. So in the case that you liked any of these ideas, and I did see some clients on the phone that I know that have seen this work faster. We've seen it anywhere from 1 to 2 days. And that's from start to finish, let alone optimizing over the top of the creative, which we could do in real time or same day. But we're talking about really, really quick turns on everything we've talked about. In the appendix of this deck, we actually have some performance stated by Vertical for you guys as well. So just quick high level slides. I didn't want to get too tactical as this was such a fun, creative conversation, but just know in the follow-up you will have that. And now let me quickly grab some of these questions. So Lauren from Disney asked, how would you handle a retailer like a supermarket who has one parent company with 10 plus different store chains throughout the country, but only has one hero creative that they want to link out to the correct store chain based on the user's location? Do you need to create 10 plus versions of the creative and change the QRs or something different? So Lauren, that's a perfect scenario for our technology, whether it's an OLV version or a KERV TV version, depending on how you set it up in the ad server, which most of the time you're going to set up each of the markets and the locations uniquely. KERV would just need the one hero creative and understand all of the different versions. We'd process them, send you all each of the versions to be trafficked to each of the locations. So just so everyone kind of understands, there'd be a hero creative. And then if you were in Texas, you would go to the supermarket that's in Texas specifically, or if you're in California, you would get sent to the California supermarket. So with KERV's products are in this kind of optimization, ideation type of conversation, we can have a brand logo that's unique to each of the retailers for each of the unique versions. The PCTA can actually have the store's name as well if you would want, or maybe a store color. And then all of the destination links would be easily changed. So we would need potentially like the 5 business days or so for the hero creative. And then once we version all of them out, we'd only need a business hour or 2 to version them from there. You can use a brand study with KERV is the second question there. And if anyone has any questions on the previous question from Lauren, let me know. That it's a little operational, but perfect question. The next question is, can I use a brand study? You can. So everything that I have laid out today between Bill and I is a beacon. So not only can you do a brand study on, did someone see a creative version of KERV's technology? So we're talking about all the versions and customizing these. They could also see if a user clicked, a user interacted, and then depending on how big your campaign is, you could actually start to segment it out by categorical interaction and some of those other things that we talked about. But because of statistical significance, you'd need to run a lot of impressions to get there. But yes, you can run a brand study with our technology. Any other questions? Those are the 2. If you have any others, you can either directly or anonymously pop them into the Q&A. Oh, here's one. What is the possibility of having the same system bilingual, for example, Arabic language, especially for the Middle East market? So we are able to create different versions of the technology for language. So we also can do character-based languages, which would be the Middle Eastern language. So really, really good question. Very similar to the question that Lauren asked. I would suggest having a version for each of the for each of the languages, and then using those creatives to target those. And then that way you have the data on all of the interaction paths per language. We've actually done that with Spanish. We've done it with Japanese and a few other languages that I know I'm forgetting. But really big question. I'm sorry, really great question. We can do that. Do I get access to the data for other applications? So great question. We do provide our data out, but in terms of reusing it, we'll charge you guys a data CPM, just very similarly like everyone else, but it will only charge you for the collection. If you want to place a segment pixel, we'll only charge you the CPM the first time that the audience is collected. Then you'll have it in a segment to use, and you'll get to use it from there. So you can get the data to reuse. And like I mentioned, every interaction and every optimization that we're talking about today is unique in KERV's data collection. So you'll have, we mentioned having a retail version of a creative for apparel versus for accessories. You get all of the data differentiated between those two creatives, and then by scene, and then by object. So your KERV adds a massive amount of data to your data story, and also proves itself out. We perform and outperform any control every time. And I think that it has a lot to do with KERV adding a ton of layers to the optimization strategies like we're talking about today, and also not assigning one destination to one creative, and really allowing there to be a multi-dimensional experience that the user controls and the user kind of really flows through, that you constantly can be optimizing in such an important holiday season.
Yep. And not only can you get the data breakdown by object and scene, we can also associate keywords with the actual item as well. So if it's a red shirt or a blue shirt,
good point,
for that object, we can actually give you that feedback as well. So you know which ones are being engaged with the most.
It's a really good point. There's a lot of ways to analyze a creative. And to Bill's point, if we notice that a product is being interacted with that aligns with a certain color, we can also optimize the glow color and the PCTA to align with that color as well. There's really simple creative optimizations that we've completed that are super impactful as well, where we kind of at KERV, we look at a creative as living and breathing, and never just kind of static. And we're only as good as the base creative that you all provide, and that you all, are working and investing in right now. So really good questions. It looks like I've answered all the questions in the queue right now. We do have a little bit of time, which usually I'm very long-winded. So this is exciting that I didn't go over for you guys, but I'll give you all a couple more minutes to put any additional questions in. And then if you made it here today, that means that you have a KERV contact, but we're always open to doing ideations with clients specifically, where you can really get detailed in the use cases, like some of these questions came in. So if you're not sure who your contact is, go ahead and email us. I think Ashley, you mentioned that you could respond to the presentation. And so then we'll make sure to get you in contact with the right contact. Another question popped in. Does KERV provide media buying as well as the tech? We do. You can take an option. So as I mentioned, one of our favorite clients, Disney, was on the call. They would clearly be the distribution arm for that particular question. So we would not be the media buyer, we'd just be the technology behind Disney's amazing properties. But we do have a media buying arm. So a lot of the sequential retargeting ideas that we brought forward are those that we activate in our media buying arm. So yes.
I wanted to bring up one point that I forgot to cover earlier when we were talking about, features. If, dealing with, pharmaceutical companies or anything that involves legal terminology, stuff like that, that needs to be expressed through the creative, Our creative allows you to actually put that in the text box or allow the user to link out or pull that in through an embed. So they don't actually have to leave the experience to see that information. So disclaimer information for an automotive feature, or maybe a pharmaceutical brand that wants to express, important safety information. We can actually pull that directly into those creatives, both Shop and Max creatives, quite easily. So the user can have access to them using, a special call to action that we would put in there with the link out information as well. So
that's a really good point. There's kind of two buckets of creative optimizations for your holidays. There's the utility of accomplishing something you really need to happen, like language or the dynamic different retailers per region, the retailers inside of Shop, like we showed you. So we have all of those things, product availability through a feed, buy online, pick up in store optimization for when delivery cuts off. And then you have the creative agility side of it, which is when we can have fun with it. If we think that creative is wearing and we want to shift some colors based on data, and really optimize in this additional layer. So there's kind of those buckets, which they definitely converge. But we appreciate your time today. If you guys don't have any, or if anyone doesn't have any other questions, we'll give you some time back. And like Ashley mentioned, we'll give you guys this deck. And if you have any creative ideas you want to chat through, let us know. But I understand that Q4 starts this week. So one thing I want to reiterate is that we would easily be able to get creatives processed in all of the versions and ideas we've talked about today, well in advance of mid-October, if we got them in this week. So we'd be ready for Q4 and really maximizing those really important weeks for you and your clients. So I'll give everyone one more minute in case any other questions come in. These have all been really great questions. And otherwise we will follow up and talk about all of your use cases uniquely. And hopefully we've got your creative juices flowing for the holiday season of ways to optimize creative as content and commerce converge this holiday season. It's happening. Perfect. We'll give you some time back. Thank you so much. Keep in touch. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
And rest of your quarter.
Bye.
Bye.